Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. I hope everybody is having a good day. I see quite a few people are here already, so I'm going to say hi to everybody. Thank you for being here. It's been a while since we've done a weekly wrap-up, so it's kind of going to be whatever you guys have seen, some of what I have seen. So if you have anything that you have seen over the past 2 weeks since my last weekly recap, feel free to leave it in the comments. And if I have seen it or have any opinions on it, we can talk. So let me go ahead and say hello to everybody. Hey, Dina, thank you for joining. Membership. Hey, the Dark Magician. Hey, the Chosen Reborn Guy. Beauty Demon. Sherry. Michelle. I don't know how to say your name. Katsuki, maybe. If I pronounce your name wrong, please just put the enunciation in the comments. I prefer to pronounce people's names correctly, but I know sometimes I'm wrong with that. Hey, Xylee, and you were wrong. I was not late tonight, which is surprising based off of my track record lately, but I totally get it. Hey, Stina. Hey, the Amber Chick. Hey, Cheryl. Stay consistent. You want me to consistently be late? Hey, Christophan, good to see you. Hey, Captain T. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Sue. Hey, Heather. I did say it right. Okay, awesome. How is everyone doing? Hey, Sally. I hope everybody is doing well and that you have had a good week. It has been a week of getting back, trying to get back anyways, into some kind of routine. If you ever take vacation for any amount of time that's longer than normal, I feel like we all kind of struggle to get back into somewhat of a normal routine. And that's what I've been struggling with this week. So hopefully next week is going to be better. But I finally am starting to feel rested and ready to conquer everything, I guess. Hey, Laura, good to see you. So the past 2 weeks on YouTube, depending on what communities you're in or what kind of content you're watching, there seems to have been some dumpster fires a little bit all over the place. It's been interesting trying to catch up because while I was gone, I did not watch any YouTube at all. So when I got back, I was just trying to catch up on everything. I feel like I've caught up on quite a bit, but there's so much to consume on YouTube. I'm sure there's things I'm still behind on. So if you guys mention something that I'm not aware of, I'm totally open to looking into that for our follow-up weekly recap. I don't know if I'm going to do these weekly or bi-weekly, but I do intend to still do this form of live streaming for everybody. Hey, April. Hey, Just Chat. Good to see you guys. Yes, I did definitely enjoy my vacation. Some of the things that have gone on, other channels that you guys seem familiar from, like Xylee, has kept up with quite a bit of what's been going on. So I'm going to try my best not to be too repetitive about everything. One of the major things that have gone on while I was away was the story with Chris Chan. And I feel like one of the few who really didn't know who this individual was. I had never heard of them, I never knew they existed until my Twitter feed was just bombarded with their arrest. And then I got curious, as I think most people would, especially if you're a creator in commentary. And I started to go down the hole. I haven't gone totally down it. I do intend to go down that hole, though, to talk about it. That's a really, really hard topic to talk about because it involves so many serious elements. But the unfortunate side of it, coming from areas that I have worked previously, it is not totally uncommon. Part of the story with what's happened with them and their mom, and I'm not going to get too much into it because I don't want to do trigger warnings and I don't want to go too far into the story because I'm going to do a video on it. But aside from that, elder abuse is actually pretty common, and I don't think a lot of people realize that it is a common issue in the world. But the additional information surrounding that is really disturbing and disgusting. And it brings more of a view to me that, you know, even though you may do commentary, there's parts of the internet clearly and creators that you're never going to know about until something atrocious like this happens. And that's kind of something that I want to be more aware of and try to make it a mission for myself to venture into communities that I typically wouldn't watch on my own, just to make sure that I'm not getting caught up in like boring content or shielding myself from other communities, if that makes sense. What Chris Chan was doing is a subsect of this YouTube space that I would never go to on my own, if that makes sense. And that's no shade to anybody who watches that kind of content or is into that kind of content. It's just something that I've never been interested in. So I feel like I'm like a quote unquote normal person in the sense that when I consume YouTube in my free time, not as far as like being a creator, but just things that I enjoy to relax, I tend to go to communities that I know I enjoy, and I don't venture outside of that. I am going to do a better job at making sure I venture into other areas of the YouTube space. That way, maybe stories like this can be pushed out more than what was. And I understand that there were several channels that did keep up and did try to inform their audiences of the concerning behavior, but it doesn't seem like anyone was really able to hone in on this. And a lot of people, even ones who have covered Chris Chan regularly, did not realize that there were these deep-seated issues occurring in their life. And yes, I am aware that Chris Chan uses the pronouns she, her. Hopefully I did not misgender them. If I did, I apologize. I am aware that they use the she, her pronouns. Hey, Bonnie Bell. So when you're ready to get weird, let you know. Well, Amber, like I said, it's kind of an open invitation. So if there's any kind of content or I don't know if you call them like sections or genres or niches, however you want to refer to it, that you guys watch that you think it would be something I wouldn't necessarily watch on my own, feel free to reach out to me. You can email me or DM me. I usually leave my contact information in my description box, so you guys are always welcome to reach out to me for any suggestions, or if you ever see anything and you think I'd be interested, you can always reach out to me. All right. So, you know about, elder abuse it really is a bigger issue than I think most people realize. And more often than not, it tends to be a monetary thing. It doesn't necessarily end up being what the Chris Chan situation has turned out to be, but elder abuse is something that is more prevalent than I think the mainstream media ever talks about. So it's something that if it's not talked about in mainstream, people don't really think about it. It's not something you're educated about unless you work in fields that would correlate with that kind of work. Hey, Callista Cat. Okay, I didn't misgender them. Okay, good. I didn't think I would, but I wanted to apologize if I did by accident. Yeah, for anyone who's in the chat, if you don't know, please respect their pronouns. There's a lot, and I will link Xylie's live stream about Chris Chan in case you guys haven't seen anything and just me talking about it has brought some kind of interest to it. She discusses her reasoning for respecting the pronouns. Her reasoning is very similar to mine. I am not going to discredit the trans community based off of one person's poor behavior. It has, and there were people in Xylie's chat, which if you watched her live stream, you will see people in the chat saying how this event and people misgendering Chris and some of their diagnoses has unfortunately had a bad impact on them. And they see the abuse occurring on different social medias. And that is something that we need to work on as a society. Just because one person does something absolutely disgusting doesn't mean that it reflects everybody in that community. So I will link her live stream down below. I'll do it afterwards, because if I try to do it now, I probably will end up exiting or something silly, because I just don't do well at trying to fix things while I'm live. So I will include that afterwards. Another live that Xylee did was actually just a little while ago. If you weren't there, she was kind of going over the stuff with Creepshow and what's kind of been going on with Creepshow. This is the story that I feel like is never ending at this point. A lot of people were at the point where it was like, let's just stop. Like, how long can this continue without her coming out and like actually saying stuff? And of course, in the nick of time, when everybody's saying, just leave, these accounts are made on Twitter posing as her. And I'm inclined to believe, it's kind of like Xylee, that I don't necessarily believe that these accounts are Creepshow. The way that they talk and stuff just does not correlate with how Creepshow talked. And when you look at the DMs that that Tipster shared on Twitter that he had with her, the DMs show that she hasn't changed her personality or the way that she talks. I understand conspiracy theories going around about maybe she's intentionally changing her dialect and how she's talking to try and convince people. And I just don't think that that's the case. It wouldn't benefit her in any way. So at this point, I think we're all kind of just hoping that she stops doing this tit for tat. I'm sure she's talking to multiple people in DMs. Like if she's responding to Tipster, I'm sure she's responded to other people too. She's doing stuff behind the scenes. And to me, that's just, it adds more shadiness to the overall situation. Like if you're starting to get to a point where you're comfortable talking to people in DMs that you have kind of shaded or that you're currently have issues with because they've been critical of you, and you're trying to call them out on that, or you're trying to maybe convince them that you're innocent, at that point, why not just jump on your platform? Jump on one of your platforms, whether it's Instagram because she's reactivated that, or if it's your YouTube channel, like just get on somewhere and say something. Stop trying to go into people's DMs and further this to continue to be such a conspiracy, because that's what's happening is conspiracy theories are forming after conspiracy theories, with all of these accounts being made that are claiming to be her, people making assumptions that people who either sound like Creepshow or there's a correlation or who are defending her. It spins off another conspiracy. And, you know, Xylee brought up a good point that she believes that Creepshow really tried to portray herself as this hardened person, that she didn't care what people thought about her. But the way that she talked about herself, she clearly did care what people thought about her and was trying to, in a way, self-sabotage by constantly talking down to herself. You're expecting people who are your fans or who support you to be in your comments like saying, no, you're not like that. Don't believe yourself. It's very immature kind of thought process. And she clearly cares what people think. So for me, it seems like she's at this point, she's trying to make people like her again behind the scenes to maybe come back, which just isn't going to work in her favor, in my opinion. I don't think it's going to work. The only thing that she needs to do is hop on her platform. Stop allowing all of this conspiracy theory and stuff to go on and on and on, because it's just going to continue. It really is. I don't see an end in sight until she decides to come forward and say anything. And if she never does, this is just going to be like a never ending thing that people on YouTube constantly are talking about. Jersey, you didn't expect Creepshow to just disappear. I mean, the reason I think she disappeared is because she's guilty. I mean, honestly, that is my opinion. It is my opinion that she disappeared because the amount of evidence racking up against her was just too much for her to really dispute, especially with the lolcow stuff. It was too much for her to dispute. And I think she got to a point where she didn't know how to handle it because she knew she was called out for what she was doing. I do think that her friends would have probably worked with her and helped her get over that hurdle. But when the stuff coming from Emily Artful started to come out shortly after that, and knowing that that was coming out, she really knew that she couldn't go anywhere. And so the best thing to do for her at that point in time was to say she was going to obtain an attorney and deal with that stuff legally. It's an easy way out for her to not address it publicly, because the public is going to assume that she's going to be addressing it in the court. So she wouldn't want to harm a court case by doing it publicly. So she kind of CYA'd by making that nuance that she was going to seek legal action. So yeah, that's my opinion so far on the Creepshow stuff. It's a dumpster fire, and it's going to continue to be a dumpster fire. So, and I feel like most people kind of feel the same at this point. And it seems that it's a 50-50 if people want her to just stay gone or to just come back and deal with it for what it is. Thank you, Sue, for linking Xylie's channel. I appreciate that. Christophan, Xylie has done a whole series on the Creepshow stuff. I'm pretty sure she has it in a playlist. So if you're wanting to know the breakdowns of everything and her reviewing everything, that is on her channel. You think it's important to understand the role that YouTube and Kiwi Farms played in Chris Chan. Kira, from what I have seen, you're absolutely right. I haven't gone down the videos and the rabbit hole, as they say, enough to really speak on that, other than what I have seen others talk about. And from what I have seen is Chris Chan's channel was pretty much, and their presence online was pretty much built on people making fun of them and people trolling them. It wasn't really so much a community of support. It was a community of intrigue, hatred, and just like interest in wanting to see what this individual was going to do next, because it was kind of really outlandish. And unfortunately, people fed into that, and they continue to gain popularity because people made fun of them. And that's a sad part of the internet. It's nothing new. I mean, look at Foodie Beauty and Amberlynn Reed. Both of their platforms, yes, they do have people who do support them, but a large majority of people who make video content about them is not in support of them. Instead, it is reacting to whatever they're doing, reacting to their videos, making fun of them, constantly pointing out their contradictions. Like, they're called Hater Nation because their fan base, like a large majority of their platform and their followers, are people who don't actually support them, which is really unfortunate. James Soroka, yeah. That's actually a story I've kind of kept up with here and there. I don't know the ins and the outs of it. I know he kind of was being talked about by some larger creators, I think about a year ago, and how his relationship was with that girl. I don't remember her name off the top of my head. And when I was watching what was happening, I wasn't a creator at the time, but when I was viewing the content being made on him, it is highly concerning. His relationship and what was happening was appalling. He was allowed, like, in my opinion, he almost was using his fan base to support them. They weren't working. They were constantly moving. They were constantly being kicked out. They were constantly trying to utilize resources in the communities that they were in. I know at times they were using churches, which there's nothing wrong with using a resource if you need to use the resource. The issue I came with how he would talk about these resources on his live streams was deplorable. He was needing help. They were willing to help him, give him a place to sleep, him and his girlfriend. And he would get on his live stream and talk absolute trash about the resources that were free, not to mention the literal abuse that was happening. I mean, you saw it on camera of how he treated her. It was scary and it was sad, and I'm not surprised he has been arrested. I wish it would have happened sooner, but I am happy for the girl he was with, that she can now go back to her family, hopefully, and start to seek counseling, I hope, and work through everything that she's gone through while she was with him. Yeah, please, if you guys are going to talk about Chris Chan in my chat, even if you have difference of opinion on their gender, please at least respect it here and make sure you're using the correct pronouns when referring to Chris Chan. You don't understand who she's allegedly, Stina, she is allegedly seeking, the way that it was left was that she was going to be seeking legal action. In my opinion, it was inferred it was going to be against Emily because she was the one who had the really hard-hitting accusations and allegations. I think that is the only person that really she could target to even have a case against. Her actions on locale don't really break any laws, but the allegations that Emily have are very strong and can be criminal. So I would believe that that is the person she was saying she was going to seek counsel for. I'm sorry to hear that, Miss Cassandra. I'm so sorry to hear about your loss, your family's loss of your fur pet. I hope you guys are able to mourn him or her and heal and get over that. I know how hard it is to lose a pet. A lot of people in Kiwi Farms would protect her. I mean, that's good. And I heard that. I heard bits that there were people who were, what were they? Were they labeled warriors or something like that? Something along those lines that tried to protect her and the trolling that she was receiving. I was going to say, I wonder if this will impact people like Foodie Booty or Amberlynn Reed. I mean, if YouTube decides to do a crackdown, maybe it will impact their audiences and their engagement, but I just don't understand how YouTube would be able to monitor and be able to decipher if people were actually trolling and being haters. How would they be able to control that? And how would they be able to monitor it? That's where my question would come from. The correct pronouns for Chris are she, her. Brutus. Well, Brutus, I'm sure, I mean, it sucks that it seems it was an accident and clearly unexpected the way that he was taken, but I hope he's in a better place and, you know, hopefully your family can heal over it. I know it takes a while. Unfortunately, I understand that feeling of losing an animal. I think most people have lost at least one animal at some point in your life, and it's very hard to cope, especially if you are someone who cherishes your pets like family. It's almost like losing an actual family member. So my condolences really go out to you and your family. Yeah, for once, some of Kiwi Farms did positive things or tried. Kiwi Farms, I've never really been into any of like these hater forums, so to speak, like Lolcow or Kiwi Farms, and I know there's other ones too. I've never ventured onto them. I've never had to. I understand like changing the way I'm going to be doing my commentary content moving forward. I probably am going to have to look into that stuff more, but I'm probably going to be totally lost. What is happening with Foodie Beauty right now is alarming. I don't know what part you're meaning. I haven't checked into Foodie Beauty and what's happened over the last couple of weeks. So I'm not sure what aspect you're talking about. I know she's been in a relationship with this gentleman who introduced her to some illegal substances, and she's had conversations about that with her following, which is concerning enough in alone. I hope it's not getting worse because of that situation. You don't know what Kiwi Farms is. Kiwi Farms is just like a messaging board forum where it's like I don't know if Kiwi Farms is anonymous. Someone will have to clarify if it's anonymous like locale, but it's just a messaging board where people go to talk shit, essentially. Yeah, there is a lot of hate all over the place. I mean, no matter where you go, I feel like you're bound to run into some of it. Okay, it is anonymous. I feel like most of like the messaging boards that are known to be more mean-spirited and negative tend to be anonymous. You thought there was some YouTube harassment policy about making too many videos on a single creator. Is that true or a rumor? I mean, YouTube has harassment policies. It's all their policy and procedure. If you ever are interested, you can Google it and look at it. YouTube has a ton of policies, and they have a hard time enforcing what they expect from their creators. So it's all situational and circumstantial, it seems. They definitely do have policies around that, though. That's why you can get community guideline strikes and things like that when your content is flagged. That's why you can flag content if you find it. There's a way to, anytime you see a video and if it crosses a line, you have the ability as a viewer to flag content. And when you try to flag content, a box comes up and it gives you a multitude of selections to pick from. I can't remember what they all are, but I know some are like, I believe some are like releasing information, like doxing kind of stuff. Bullying and harassment, isms, I think is one too. Like there's about 5 or 6 that pop up when you try to flag somebody's content. It's true. That's why the creator Leafy got banned. Okay. Yeah, I figured I know there's definitely some, hey Zero, I know there's some harassment guidelines. I don't know what they are in depth though. And, you know, some creators have their channels that are dedicated to just one person or one family or one situation, and their videos and their channels aren't being taken down. So that's when I think it becomes a situational and a circumstantial type thing on how YouTube is going to rule. Like if they're going to rule that it does fall under harassment or it doesn't. That's the excuse they use. I'd never watched Leafy, so I don't know what kind of content they had. YouTube, I think, struggles with enforcing a lot of the rules that they have currently. I know there for a while, it was being assumed that they were struggling with keeping up with stuff because they had cut their staff when COVID happened. I don't know if there was any validity to that, but they do seem to struggle with keeping up with their rules. We see creators being able to falsely copyright other creators. people trying to abuse the copyright system that YouTube has in place. And that's kind of been a known thing to be an issue with YouTube for as long as I can remember. You don't have any insider tea. You just feel like there was more to that story than people know. Leafy was peak 2016 YouTube. I mean, I definitely was watching YouTube then, but I guess I wasn't watching that kind of content. What else have you guys been seeing? What dramas have you guys, or situations have you guys seen? I know there's more and they're just not. He started with mine. Well, that would be why. I've never watched gaming content. I even struggle to watch commentary content that's over gaming. I watch gaming all the time. My husband's a gamer, so like that's what's mainly on my TV. So I don't want to watch it on YouTube when I'm trying to consume YouTube, if that makes sense. So I'm trying to think. I know there's been other stuff going on. Over the last 2 weeks, I've watched so much that it's hard for me to remember what all I've caught up on, to be honest. I feel like just like information overload almost. Because once you start going down to find stuff, you end up going to down rabbit holes. I mean, that's all YouTube really is you end up going down different rabbit holes for whatever you're trying to figure out. Some creators are very savvy about getting around the rules. It seems to be that way. And I know before, I don't know so much now if there's talk, but I know in previous years, there has been concerns that certain YouTubers were kind of getting free passes on things because they either knew the CEO or had large followings and were doing well for the platform, that they were kind of seen as untouchable, so to speak. You're having with drama with Xylee for picking on Chihuahuas. When did she pick on Chihuahuas? I mean, I'll be honest, I like all dogs, but I will not own a small dog. They were the meanest ones when it came to grooming or bathing. So I have my own emotional reasons on why they're not my favorite breed. But if somebody I know owns them, I mean, as long as it's a breed that I don't have to groom or bathe and that I can just pet, that is friendly, I have no qualms. Katie getting sued again. Yeah, I understand Todd Chrisley allegedly is suing Katie. I'm not following it. I'm not intending on following it. I have seen bits and pieces of Todd Chrisley talking about his intentions and kind of throwing shade. He definitely is not afraid to share his opinions on her and her content. That's for sure. I know Anna came out with another video trying to say she wasn't silencing her victims, but yet she sent out a CND to them. The Anna Campbell stuff is just so heavy. And it also isn't one of those things that is never ending. You've watched too much drama, so down the rabbit hole you went, crawled back out and staying out of it. Easy to get sucked into, disappointing in some. I feel like that's how it ends up whenever there's drama, especially if you had any bias or you liked any creator that ends up in drama. You almost always are going to come apart from it from being disappointed. I'm sorry to hear that that's something that you've been experiencing lately, Heather. I'm just being honest, Sue. KJ has served him with "Don't extort me" papers. Todd Chrisley is certified. I mean, he has a massive platform. He's coming from reality TV, so he definitely has a pre-existing fan base. So I don't know. Hey, Skip, good to see you. I'm not going to read that comment, Heather. I know what you're probably trying to incite there. So I won't be keeping up with the lawsuit. I didn't keep up with her last lawsuit either. So I have no interest in what she's doing. I know people kind of anticipate when creators say that they're done talking about, especially Katie, it seems like creators will say that they're done talking about her and they're not going to cover her anymore. And then something happens and they get right back to covering her. That's not going to happen here. I'm not going to go back down talking about her. She's really not that interesting. There's bigger fish to fry than her. She's going to continue the same cycle of behavior that she has. I don't know why anybody is shocked or surprised by what she says or what she does. It's the same cycle, rinse and repeat on what she does. So it's not that interesting. There's always stuff that's going to be going on with her. Right, Dark Magician? If you are going to be successful in reality TV realm, you need to know how to read. Absolutely. He throws Beauty Demon. You're absolutely correct. In the few voice clips that I have heard of him, like talking about this situation that he's gonna go down with Katie, he definitely knows how to like throw some hardcore shade. Hey, Dee. I appreciate that. You just watched a lady with a budgie that does brief updates on her. I think I've seen that channel shared. I haven't watched any of it. To be honest, the only creator who covers Katie that I have watched still is Renelle, and I haven't even seen her last couple of videos. I haven't had time, to be honest. Trying to catch up on all the other stuff. It's been hard to keep up with creators that I usually watch. Yeah, I've seen the quote of you can walk somewhere, but you'll be limping back or something like that he said. I don't remember the quote exactly. It's an iconic quote. It's pretty funny. He's very confident. Clearly, he's very confident. The fact that someone outside of YouTube community seeing her for who she is gives us a kind of feeling of validation, though. It's not just us that feels that way, if that makes sense. Yeah, I understand what you mean, Celine. I think so many people have wanted Katie to be held to the same standard as everybody else. And time again, she seems to, in public eye, it seems that she's gotten away with stuff. But really, if you really look at things and take a step back, she hasn't. With the Tati lawsuit, she didn't win, even though she likes to say she did. She didn't. She had to take down content. She had to do stuff. Tati got what she wanted out of that, whether Katie understands that or not. She definitely didn't win. But, you know, it's going to be the same circus all over again. You love Renelle. You won it last summer on her channel on ABH Palette. That's awesome. She's very sweet. I've talked to Renelle in DMs before. She is very, very sweet. Hashtag ban Xylee. What are you doing? You and Amber are having a go at each other. You can't get rid of Xylee. The only way you get rid of Xylee is if Xylee decides to block you and then she can't see your comments anymore. That's the only way you technically get rid of Xylee, and more or less that's her getting rid of you. It's the only time I've ever seen Xylee getting gotten rid of, so to speak. Who haven't you seen in a while? I don't know. That must be an inside. Yeah, that was a little bit shady, but you know. I can't help it. New unfiltered me is probably going to be a little bit more shady than people anticipate. If you know, you know. If you don't, sorry. It's not that serious. All right, what other stuff has gone on? Sorry, I keep touching my head. I kind of have a slight headache today. You're going to be, Amber, the day that you're good is the day that, I don't know, pigs fly. I love you to death, but you also know how to read people. What other stuff is going on? I mean, I've seen dramas happening all over the place. I don't know how relevant they are to talk about them, to be honest. For the most part, I don't think anybody would like my take or my opinions. Def Noodles got rid of his Minecraft house and cat. I actually didn't know that. I saw somewhere that he was getting rid of Def Noodles. So does that mean that he's not posting on that channel anymore? Or is he posting as himself now? As good as you're capable of, right? And he has changed up his content to a point. Really? I just saw that little bit on Twitter, or I think it was on Twitter, that he was getting rid of the Def Noodles character. And I never followed up to see how he was going to transform out of that. So then is he changing his Go with Dennis channel? Because he had his go, what was it? Something with Dennis, go with Dennis, go to Dennis, or something like that. That was more him. And then he had the Def Noodles character. So how is he separating the two now? I'm interested. You guys have me interested. I'm going to have to go look at that when I get off of here. He's posting as himself now. Interesting. Def vlogs with his tiny dog on his other channel. Interesting. I'll have to go look at that. I didn't know he had. I saw the talks that he was getting rid of the character, and I was interested as to how that transformation would look. But I definitely didn't follow up on it. I got caught up in trying to figure out other people's drama and what was going on in other communities. You think his Go with Dennis channel is his personal channel and Def Noodles is still drama. So it's drama, but he's just talking about it from his own perspective now, rather than trying to hide behind a persona of being a cat in Minecraft. I'm taking from what you guys are saying, that's been the change. Sue does have cute small dogs. She really does. You're still trying to get used to his new style. I haven't looked at it. When Xylee says ma'am, your ears perk up. When Xylee says ma'am, you know she's about to give some people her thoughts. Hey, Sherry. Good to see you. Okay. I still am interested to what that looks like, so I'll probably, I don't know, I might actually go to bed after this. I have a pretty bad headache. But next time I'm meandering through YouTube, I may go give that a look to know what's going on there. He's not your sort of person. He's one of those people that I feel like you either like or you don't. Apparently, he's not wearing the cat ears, Amber. You have a cute little Jack Russell who's a sweetheart. I've never really had any issues with Jack Russell Terriers. They are just pretty high energy, especially when they're younger. All right, Miss Cassandra. Yeah, I don't know how much longer I'll be on. Probably not too much longer. He's adorable. He's a comic by trade, so he's still funny, but not satire. I'll have to go give it a view. You're devastated to this. You know who, but dang, your headset for work has cat ears. You have a rat terrier Chihuahua, has a lot of energy, but is loving, and she's overprotective of me. My dogs are not overprotective of me. My chocolate lab might be, Whiskey might be, but I don't know. I've never been put in a situation to where he would really have to show if he'd be defensive of me or not. If my husband tries to pick on me too much, he'll like get in the middle of us. And if he's been too rough before, you know, sometimes you try to see if what your dogs will do. So, you know, you dramatize what's happening, and he has kind of like inserted. So I think he probably would protect me if he had to. Paisley, my husky, absolutely not. Huskies are not known to be protective breeds at all. And she's definitely not. You have teacup Yorkies. A lot of people with some smaller dogs. Smaller dogs are easier to accommodate than big dogs. I've definitely learned that. But I will probably always own big dogs. I just prefer bigger dogs. All right. So, is there any other situations that you guys want to chat about? Otherwise, I probably am going to wrap it up. I'm not trying to like rush off of here, but my headache is getting worse the more I'm sitting in front of this ring light. Your pit bull just wants her butt petted. That's funny. I think all dogs like the tops of their hind legs to be pet because it's not an area that they can reach very well. My dogs both enjoy that. My chocolate lab, I'm short. I'm pretty sure I've said that before. I'm only 5 foot. So Whiskey can hardly like walk in between my legs without knocking me over. But when he wants his butt scratched, he will literally walk in between your legs if you're standing there. And he almost knocks me down every single time. Paisley's pretty small, so she can do that. They'll just both take turns and like walk in a circle around your leg, getting their butt scratches. She'll walk backwards. I don't know if my dogs will walk backwards. Yeah, I know you need low light for headaches. It wasn't this bad before I sat down in front of my ring light. I thought it was just a normal headache, but it is progressively getting worse as I'm sitting in front of this light, which is a little worrisome. That makes me think it might be a migraine. You have one cat. In Europe, you would love to have a dog, but only have one pet according to your lease. Yeah, I understand. Leases, when you rent, it kind of stinks. When you own pets, I don't have cats. I wish I could. Maybe one day I can have a cat. Right now, Paisley is not friendly towards cats. get off and have a break. Yeah, I don't know why this is happening to me today. I've been fine all day. I don't know what's triggered it. Maybe it's just the light alone. Ring lights are really bright. If you've ever sat in front of one, and I have it on the lowest setting, I usually have it on the lowest setting, and it's still bothering me. Yeah, bringing pets overseas is extremely, extremely expensive. That's one of the reasons, even though we're military and, you know, at any point we could potentially be sent overseas, I've always tried to make sure my husband doesn't have overseas on his where he's okay to go, because we would not. I think Paisley's like 45 pounds, and Whiskey is a pretty big lab, so I think he's 100 pounds or more. He's beefy, and usually you have to pay per weight, and it would just be atrociously expensive. One of our friend Jake, they went overseas, and they told, what kind of dogs do they have? They had little dogs, some kind of like smaller spaniel, and they said it cost them like $4,000 per dog. And that was even with the assistance with the military. So I'm like, let's not do that. Let's not go overseas. I would enjoy the experience and like the cultural experience of it all, but having the dogs go would just be terrible. Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with my migraines. I know how to work with them. They do suck. It's something that I deal with occasionally. Sometimes you fall asleep with an ice pack on your head. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to be a migraine, but my migraines, I have to go to sleep. If I don't go to sleep, I end up actually sick, like physically sick. I end up vomiting, and then I can't keep fluids down. Then I end up dehydrated. It's a whole thing. And I always, when I know this one doesn't really feel like it's going to be a migraine, just the light is irritating me. When your sister went overseas with her husband, they got deployed. They can't take their dog. That was 10 years ago. Aw. Well, I'm sure they appreciated that you took their dog. I mean, in our families, both of our families, we would be able to, if it was a situation where we didn't have a choice, we have family that would take the dogs, but I wouldn't want to put that on my family. My dogs are very particular. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into having your dogs go overseas. Okay, guys. So this is going to be the last call for any drama or any situations that have happened on YouTube over the past 2 weeks. If you want my opinions or to know if I am aware of them. Otherwise, our next YouTube recap will probably be better than this one. I think you guys probably will be able to tell, like I started to peak like halfway through. When you went on holiday to your parents' place in New Zealand, you went for 6 weeks. So you took your dog. It was cheaper to fly over with me than board. Yeah. And there's different ways to fly with pets too, depending on their size. If they're a small dog, there's a way that you can have them in the aircraft with you. But for larger dogs, they have to go underway. All right, guys. I know there's plenty of other things that happened, and I was going to just talk about it, but because of how I'm feeling, I don't want to get into my opinions of dramas amongst communities that have been going on for the past week. So I don't know, maybe I'll do a live stream tomorrow or next week sometime and we can discuss it. But I am going to go ahead and hop off of here because it is progressively getting worse. So sorry for ending this. I'm sorry for the low energy come the second half. Fortunately, you guys are seeing a headache play out in real time. So I apologize for that. We will, maybe I'll try to do a live stream tomorrow to make it up for you guys. I will post on Twitter if that ends up being the case. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate all of you guys so much. I hope you all have a good day, evening, or night, wherever you are. And until next time, bye guys.